Good day, class. This is our second meeting to discuss this topic on the third very important agribusiness sector or subsystem, the processing subsector or subsystem, or the processing sector or the processing subsystem. Now, as we all know, we have discussed last meeting about the, the, the sectoral importance of uh, the agro industries or the processing sector. Now, please do not be mixed up when we say processing sector and processing subsystem, because the each subsystem in the entire agribusiness system can also stand as a sector in themselves, because there is a specific industry that is functioning and also giving life to that particular part of the agribusiness system. So we can also consider processing as as a sector from the vantage point of agribusiness as an economic sector, as a sectoral delineation within the agribusiness economy. No? So this time we continue with our discussion on the the processing subsystem. uh, the processing subsystem actually also is considered as the transformative activity in agribusiness system. Meaning to say, when you transform, change from one uh, appearance, one physical makeup, one chemical composition to another, you also provide added additional value to that particular product. So, in other words, this is processing subsystem provides the competitive advantage to the raw materials and undifferentiated agricultural products, because when you process, you now are able to provide branding, you now are able to provide codes, you now are able to provide consistency to serve your customers. Okay. So just like this one, the sectoral importance, for example, of processing subsystem or processing sector, it makes the product palatable, preservable, portable, and better. Will have a better alternatives. Okay, you can see from these different choices, the products now become more palatable and it's going to last longer. The shelf life is going to increase. So also in agro processing, you can also provide product. You can also condition the product by cleaning, sorting, grading, drying, and cutting, just like that one. You cut, you sort, and then you grade, and and several other options. You can also do stabilization of product physical and chemical composition or physical makeup by aggregation, by cooling, by freezing, and also by freeze drying, by curing, by fermentation and drying, and so on and so forth, and such and so. So that means you stabilize the the what the freshness by freezing, you stabilize the palatability by drying, and many other options. So that's the function of agro processing or processing subsystem. Now, that is one example of drying, because if you are not going to dry, your squid or your pusit becomes very, will have an offending odor after several hours. Okay? Now, processing also is really very important, and as far as processing technology used to meet the preferred or the preferences of the market. Okay, now when you process, you have product specification. The product specification will be able to meet the requirements of the market, and you need technology for that. And the cost of technology, like capital, labor, and energy, of course, will become an added cost to the final product, and it will, of course, command an additional, say, price for the product. Okay. Now, what are the basic factors in processing? One is, of course, processing technology, which means utilization of the equipment, availability of skills, and cost of manpower. Okay? So when you process, be sure that we have access to technology, just like that one, access to, say, large scale facilities. You also have access to this kind of machineries. It just uh, create a automated sorter of eggs on a tray. Okay? So that means it's not done manually. Parang suction lang. Then put in the tray and it's automated. And it's not only automated, but it's also sorted already. Okay? Bottling and other procedure. These are very important function of processing technology. Now, another basic, very important factors of processing technology is plant location, which has an implication on quality of the raw materials, products sold to the market, cost involved in moving the raw materials to the finished product. Okay? Very important, plant location has implications on the quality of raw materials because the closer the processing plant, the lower is the risk of deterioration of your raw materials. And then also there's accessibility of the processing facilities, which in this case you have a feed mill very close to the river or the bodies of water, so the transport of of raw materials from the farm is easily done by boats. No, it's easily done by boats. Also, this one, the transporting of the storable items, it's done by warehousing, adequate warehousing. Another very important factor for processing technology is plant location. Okay, where you locate your operation, which corresponds or which impacts on nearness to raw material sources, proximity to the market, and transport factors. Meaning to say, it's nearness to raw materials wherever that very important raw materials for certain product is available. Now, it would also be very likely that a good number of processing plants will surround that particular areas nearby. Just like, for example, feed mills. Okay, where are the feed mills located in the Philippines? They are located either in Batangas or in Cagayan de Oro. Why? In Cagayan de Oro, there is almost like 13 feed mills located in Cagayan de Oro. In Batangas, name any feed mill. They are there in Batangas. Why do you think? Because uh, of the accessibility and nearness of the sources of raw materials, which is yellow corn. Okay? In Batangas, it's not that the Batangas is a corn growing area, but Batangas is usually the unloading point of all imported cereals from abroad. Okay? Unload and bring that immediately to the what? To the feed mill where it is very close to the port. Now, incidentally, also Batangas is a livestock growing province. Okay, in Cagayan de Oro, the story is somewhat different because there are almost more than a dozen of feed mills locating themselves in Cagayan de Oro. Why? Because it is very close to Bukidnon. Bukidnon is a major growing areas for corn in the Philippines after Cagayan Valley. Okay, so there's only maybe few minutes, and the corn from the farm will be accessed by the feed mill. Okay, so it's really also very strategic in that location, proximity to the market, because right there in Cagayan de Oro, there is already a towing and froing of ships and people buying all these manufactured goods. Okay, so you have also adequate labor supply, very important for plant location. Cost of land, of course, no, land is a very important factor for establishing your processing plant, manufacturing operation. Effects of development in the location. If it is favorable to the land use plan of the community, then you can that will serve as a basis why it is located in that particular location, and the policy also of the development managers in a particular LGU. The policy meaning to say there might be some tax exemptions or tax holidays, or there will be incentives, tax incentives, which is very favorable to the manufacturers. And then the other one is inventory management as a processing factor. Seasonality of raw materials can be very important, and proper and adequate physical facilities for developing a good and responsive inventory control and management. Okay, there will be sufficient working capital for processing. No, that's good for inventory. So that's like this one. If places are available, say for example, for storage, there will be also like more small and medium enterprises that will have their presence located because of the facilities that are available for inventory management. You see, if you are a new entrant in an industry, it is very expensive for you to start to build your own warehouse when you are still in the infancy stage of the business. It's better to rent than to build your own. So that's why if there are available storage facilities and other inventory facilities available, then that will also trigger one very important factor for locating your operation in that area. I read from an update that Stephen Kokaliong is establishing a an available warehouse facilities for startup in Cebu, so that small medium enterprise nga walay bodega, they can store their say for example their stocks there for a minimal rent. Okay, so in other words, the one providing the service will earn through rentals, and the ano the the locator, the startup locator, will also minimize fixed cost by just renting the warehouse. Okay, so that is processing technology, very important for inventory management, and of course packaging and other inputs. Okay, very important, no? Packaging. Okay, are the what? Why are some factories very closely located in Cebu, for example? Well, in Cebu, it's the only glass plant available in or existing in the Visayas. And if there is a glass plant, it can design for you, it can develop for you a specific glass packaging material for your products, preserved products. That's why you can just buy very accessible from San Miguel Glass Plant in Cebu. And of course, if there is a good packaging input or packaging design, packaging material, it will also provide added value to the product. Okay, just like this one. Or you have these are all plastic and some glass containers, some tumblers. Okay, so these are all sorts of say product for packaging technology, and which is very useful for processing operation. Okay, this one is another packaging material where you can easily buy from source. Now, also, if you are close to say operation or source of raw materials for tin, which is for canning, now that one also can save a lot of cost, because the tin can will be already almost 30% of the product cost. That means to say, ang laki ng savings pag you can get access to cheaper raw materials, such as, for example, or cheaper packaging materials, such as, for example, these tin cans. No, so these are stand-up pouches, which is made from aluminum material or plastic mixed with aluminum. Okay, these are stand-up pouches. You can just put your brand name there, your name. It goes as a beautiful packaging material, just like this one. No, so you have this particular say packaging. The stand-up pouch can already provide a good inventory and display traction. This one is a flip top packaging material. Okay, this is a flip top packaging material. You can see the design also of the final product. It's almost shaped like a tongue of a human person. The moment you flip, and then pick one, it will just snugly fit into your tongue, and there you go. You enjoy the fun of taking this particular snack. So this is also a very convenient, say, can, where you can just pull this material, this hinge there, and then you can rip open the tin can, not without using any can opener. Okay, this is a very convenient soft drink packaging, which in so doing, it attracts a lot of, say, processing technology options. Now, what are the functions? What functions will packaging perform? Okay, of course, the packaging will protect the quality, and it is also for convenience and for image conveyance. Okay, it will also provide information for transmittal in terms of a good packaging. And again, it will save on cost if you have a good packaging material. Plus, of course, it will differentiate your product. Take note, the packaging material of a specific product is copyrighted. You cannot just copy the the packaging material, the design of your packaging material, design of somebody else's packaging material, package. You cannot copy. It's copyrighted because that's part of their corporate or product identity. Okay, even just an ordinary cell phone. Okay, the ordinary cell phone where you have a rectangular keypad or rectangular power button against a rounded power button. That particular design is actually patented. You cannot just copy that, no? You have to have your own design of buttons and uh, keypad, no? So, for example, the button is designed as circular. It's for a particular brand. No one else can make use of that design rounded button except this particular, say, owner of the copyright. Which packaging must be used? Okay, that means to say requirements of the consumer and distribution channel. Okay, unmet needs. Okay, requirements due to nature of the product. So, in other words, the packaging must fit into this particular requirement. No, transportation, storage, and handling demands. Okay, kung you are going to transport that to, for example, far places, and that is prone to exposure to moisture, it should be water and airtight container. Okay, and not also exposed to adverse environmental condition. Government regulation must also be followed in packaging. Okay, if a can, for example, if a can has a dent, it can no longer be accepted in the institutional market. Okay, and then you have programming and control for flow of raw materials and for production also. Okay, just like this one, this is an assembly line of what, packaging, packaging technology. No? So you have factors affecting in processing. Another is byproducts. So what is your byproduct? Okay, your byproduct is another is a main product or an input in another. Say for example, another processing technology. Okay, product processing technology. For example, sugarcane, 30% residues, but the residues can be used for furnaces, fuel. The residues such as molasses can be used for what? Manufacture of monosodium glutamate or alcohol. And then the mud manure, katong mud press sa sugarcane pressing, it's high in phosphorus content, can be used for fertilizer for agriculture. So these are the byproducts. In other words, if you are this particular processing plant, you should be close to an agricultural community because your product can be very useful. Or better yet, you have another factory that will just absorb and buy your byproducts. Just like, for example, this is sugarcane processing. Okay, so small scale enterprise. Okay, so you have that in your in your say for example data. More than 95% of the processors in the Philippines are actually SMEs, no? Actually SMEs. So these are what? These are organizations that are belonging to specific, say for example, asset size. Okay, if they belong to this specific asset size, that means to say they are classified as either micro, small, medium, or large. Okay, so if you are micro, that means your capitalization, your asset size is only up to 3 million. If you are small, your capitalization is only up to 15 million. Okay? And so on and so forth, and such and so. Now, the micro and small medium enterprise, you have also in terms, can be categorized in terms of number of employees. Okay? Either less than 10, more than 10, less than 100, and 100 up to 200, and large will be more than 200 employees. Okay? That can also be basis of classification of different enterprises entering into this what we call as agro services or agro industry sector, agro processing sector. No? So this is the pie chart of a, a micro, small, and medium enterprise. You will notice that it's almost like what? It's almost like 92% are micro enterprise. Okay. Um, and then you have number of employees. You have already, I have already done that. And then MSME sectoral distribution. Okay, for what's the largest is you have wholesale and manufacturing, wholesale, retail, and manufacturing. SMEs are only very few in in hotels and restaurant, and also very few on personal services. They are more in the manufacturing and also in the retail and wholesale business. Okay, there are top five industries in the manufacturing sector. Okay, food, manufacture of apparel, and then you have manufacture and fabricated metal products, manufacture and repair of furniture, and manufacture of non-metallic and mineral products. So these are the top five in the industries in the manufacturing sector. No? So what are the problems in the Philippine food processing sector? One is insufficient supply of raw materials. Very important really is to be able to conquer, because the moment there is insufficient supply of raw materials, that means it will choke the manufacturing sector. That's why the manufacturing sector cannot survive without a stable or productive production or output sector. Okay? And then another problem of Philippine food processing sector is low level of technology. In other words, our mechanization and our automation is still very far from other countries around us. Lack of R&D for factory level. So we need to have support for R&D on various levels. And then competitive markets or low access to large market. Okay, because there are markets that are not yet saturated in the domestic economy, then but the more value adding market is abroad or outside of the country. Sometimes it's more profitable to venture locally, but it is equally and more rewarding to venture in the say for example in the export market. Lack of cooperative efforts among small scale. In other words, our small scale enterprise, instead of collaborating, they are competing head on. So that's why it's a what? It's a red ocean, meaning to say it's a dog eat dog situation. Rather than that, that's why we advocate the what the framework or the concept of value chain or supply chain collaboration. Instead of adversarial relation, we act as one value chain or one supply chain, so that everybody will help one another supply a specific market in the export or even in the local market. Okay, so you have also inability to meet food safety regulations. Okay, there are a lot of processing, processing like establishment that are not able to comply with good manufacturing practice, good hygienic practice. So very poor. That's why we cannot sell our products abroad. We cannot sell our products to institutional or supermarkets because our packaging is so poor. Poor access to financing. That's also one thing. It needs financial support. Since these are small and even micro enterprise, they cannot afford to invest on highly capital intensity asset. No? Inadequate management skills. That's capacity building of all MSMEs. Okay, so given that particular situation of the Philippine food processing sector, we really need to what to uh, accelerate growth in this area by public support, meaning to say support the infrastructure development for, say, for example, micro and small enterprise, especially related to agribusiness. That's why our government is promoting what we call as CSF, Common Service Facilities, for an enterprise where the capitalization is not enough. If you have to cluster them and provide one particular, say, CSF or common service facilities for packaging, common service facilities for for labeling, etc., for processing, then it will allow them to continue to move on in the processing business or manufacturing business without having to incur huge asset investment. No, instead of buying, they can just rent, and it will help on their cash flow. No? So that is one very important walking through of the situations of the processing sector in the Philippines, which is very important components of our agribusiness system. Next meeting, class, we will discuss on the how does the packaging promote agribusiness growth. No? So we will discuss that so that this processing technology can be much appreciated if we know what are the government policies that supports packaging in the agribusiness system. Okay? With that note, I say thank you, and I will meet you next week.